We all got skills. We have talents and we have passions. But mine happens to be sex. This is the Funsexual podcast with your oversharing swinky best friend, Majesty. And I'm talking sex and all of the ways and all of the things that make sex, well, fun. Welcome back to another episode of the Funsexual podcast. It is your kinky, swinky best friend Majesty, aka the sexy sweetheart, aka the wholesome hoe, aka the play party princess, aka a fistful of fun, aka the cultivator of good vibes. And if you are watching right now, which I hope you are watching right now, you're going to see that I have a guest here today. Some of you know this guest as Mr. Fire Marshal NYC. Some of you might know this guest as Pro Hoe for show. But I'm going to allow this guest to introduce themselves.
Howdy. So that's the going thing. How do I say it? My name is Bobby. I go by Bobby. I usually introduce myself as Bobby. But for branding purposes, we're going to go with Fire Marshal, which is a name that was given to me by my predecessors. Put it like that. Dope. And then, because of Instagram and their problems, I had to change my name so many times that when I came up with the Pro Hoe for show, that stood. And so now everything across the board is Pro Hoe for show.
Pro Hoe for show.
Except for the new Instagram, because Instagram canceled the last one. Yeah.
Dealing with Instagram, it has been a very stressful process as a person who works in sex positive spaces and is trying to create community and educate people. They're making it really hard. It's getting to the point where I'm if the Funsexual Instagram gets deleted, I don't know that I'm gonna start a new profile.
So I said that 5 times. I'm on Instagram number 12.
Damn.
I've been on Instagram since the beginning because I went to a university in Oklahoma where we were the beta testers for most of these apps that are out. Mm-hmm. So I had the original account.
Okay.
But as the years go past and they put more restriction, even our accounts started getting deleted, even though
that was the beta. That was the OGs.
Yeah, we was the original set. So now, and a lot of these apps, I don't even know how to operate them because I'm like, damn, y'all can do that now? Mm-hmm. Are you doing the same shit that they was doing?
TikTok is one that I refuse to get on TikTok. I tried it 3 times. They keep deleting me. TikTok is hard to. TikTok is very hard to use. To me, because I'm not the most tech savvy person. And quite honestly, having to learn a whole new system is just. It's a lot, so I
don't have the time.
I don't do the TikToking. I'll leave that to the kids. So I met Bobby, Pro Hoe for show, Fire Marshal NYC, officially at the Experience Covet Erotic Opera. They brought you in as one of the performers, and your set was super duper dope.
Thank you
I thoroughly enjoyed watching it, and Fireplay was something that I had seen plenty of times. Mm-hmm. It was something that I had never experienced, and I feel like I got to see it way closer than I ever really have. So I really enjoyed your set, and just that event altogether was
that event was a lot. It wasn't even big, but it was huge. It was
quality wise. I talked about. I had Boone on an episode. The quality of that, which it sets the bar high.
A really high event. The caliber of people that were brought there. Mind you, these are people that I didn't even know at first. I've had conversations with them, but I did not know the level that the persons were on. And to get there, and the vibe was set the way it was, in the areas that it was, the things that we did, and how we maneuvered, that was really up there, especially for me.
Yes.
My experience is mainly New York. But to go to LA, that was my first time in LA. Okay. So going to LA for the first time, and then walking into an experience like it was... That was big. It
was huge. It was very well done. I told you guys there was super high level kinksters. Yes. And it's funny to hear you say that because I just met you a month ago in LA for the first time, but I've seen first the Black kink community. It ain't that big. No. It New York has it better. We were talking about it. New York has it better than most places, but altogether, it really ain't that big. So you're 2 degrees of separation from anybody at any point in time.
If you get your information out there and there's enough people that will process it, then you're going to get seen. But the thing about it is, and it's just coming from my standpoint, I thought that there were more. And come to find out, it's really not. And so when you talk about the black community, I'm pretty much, as far as a conversational piece, know most of the people. Or they know me or know of me. At least they know my name. The people know who Fire Marshal is. They may not have got a chance to meet me. We've had conversations. And I'm talking about some of the legendary folks. But it's not as big as I thought it was. Or if it is, I ain't made it to those events spots yet.
I feel like I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, if there are black kinksters that I don't know, because I know a lot of people just from being in the space. I'm primarily in swing spaces. I know a lot of people from being in those spaces. But if I haven't shared space with you at this point, if I haven't seen you around at this point, if I haven't crossed paths on Instagram at this point, I'm like, I probably don't know you at this point because it's not that big. It's just, it really is. It seemed like a big community, but people come in, dabble in, play in it, figure it out, and then decide that it's not for them and be out. But the people who remain are the people who remain.
I would say maybe a good 40% of people came around during the pandemic that were not there when I first started.
I will 40%. I would have to really think hard about a number, but there was definitely a lot of new kinksters hitting the scene.
These were people that I had never heard of, and I'm like, you're who? You're from where? I didn't even know they had a scene because we've been trying to build, get people, or the people come from there that came to New York or wherever else, and was like, they don't have a scene there where I'm at, and I'm like, but they said but they just did an event.
That's what I was just saying. I've never really tried to branch out into like the kink scene in Chicago, but from on FetLife, I see events and things happen. So I assume that there is a black kink community in Chicago. So I really wouldn't. Maybe I gotta go and check it out. I don't know.
The black, is it Kinky Black Munch? It's something like that. They do have their own Black Munch. They do have their own Black Munch.
Okay.
I'm not sure how big it is.
Okay.
Detroit, we have Detroit Black Munch, which is about my Onyx sister.
And that's where you didn't say that's where you're located in.
Yeah, I'm in Detroit. I left New York when COVID started because I was one of the first people to lose my job. So I went home and then I stayed home I've been home since October of 2019. Okay. I haven't really done too much of anything in Detroit because I don't know who the people are in Detroit, and people don't answer their, So when you see like on FetLife, I generally only use FetLife for events, or the people I already know. On FetLife, when you get the list of events that's in that city, either I can't go to it, or it's white.
Can't go to it because of what?
I can't go to it because it's either somewhere that I can't even get to. Okay. Just to let y'all know, Detroit is not transportation friendly. Like people think, our bus system is not set up like here in New York. I can just if I decided at 10 o'clock that I wake up that I want to go find a party, I know that I can get on the one train and hit it and be there. In Detroit, if it's after 10 o'clock, it's like if I ain't got no car or if I don't feel like paying for no Uber, if an Uber even come, because we have that problem. We don't even have as many Uber drivers as you think. You're not going to get there.
My one experience, I think I've only been to Detroit one time. I went for a NSBE conference, and we rented a house, a really nice house, an Airbnb, had like 5 or 6 bedrooms, nice big house. But it was the only house on the block that had lights on. And I was like, where the fuck they got me at?
Everything else is gone. Since 2008 with that market crash, everything is gone. Like there's nothing. My mom's a mail carrier, and I toured her route with her when I went home. And where she would have blocks that were 15, 16 houses, there's only 1 or 2 houses left in her route. And so it was like she actually cried because of it. It was like, because she knew all these people. Yeah. As a mail carrier, you know your customers. Yeah. They're not there anymore. And so now you have all of these people that are coming into the country, buying up what property's left and fixing it. But Airbnb you get that one house on 3 blocks. And then those three houses in that next block is falling over. They're dilapidated. So it's like,
that's unfortunate.
And they throw parties in them.
And they might be lit. That might be where the black kicksters is at. TBA, please stop. I'm spreading rumors.
Yeah, we don't. So Detroit doesn't have that many, and a lot of actually we have a place called Oblige Rope, which is a beautiful building. It's one of Detroit's older buildings, and they gutted the first floor. And the entire place is rigged. They could suspend 40 people at one time.
That sounds dope.
And there's couches all around the outside. The entire floor is matted. It's whoever wants to come. I've actually seen...
Do it be black people in there?
The scene is whatever.
Okay.
Detroit is mixed when it comes to the kink scene because they don't have a lot of spaces. So it's anybody that gets there.
Okay.
But that place is really nice. I've only been inside of it once. And then they had a black kinkster. He calls himself Master Fire or something. It's from Indianapolis.
Master Fire. I've never heard of him.
I didn't know either.
Okay.
And that's why I'm an asshole. So I'm a little bougie when it comes to fireplace. Because as far as black tops, there's black players that play with fire, but they're fire tops. It's the difference.
Okay, let it be known. Okay, we talking OGs over here.
I felt like when I didn't know them, I was like, who the fuck is this? And I know there's people that do the same shit to me, like, who the fuck?
Happy Pride! I didn't even get to say Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
I'm not sure when I'm gonna drop this up. I'm probably gonna drop this up before the month ends. But Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, which is not, and so much is this weekend. So just let you know, tomorrow is my birthday also.
It is.
Yes.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Then you got Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Father's Day.
Yeah.
Folsom East.
I don't know what
New
that
York.
is. What the hell's
Folsom East is the leather festival for New York City.
And I want to talk about that because definitely the leather community, as we were talking about, is what community that I haven't touched. Mm-hmm. I know some familiar faces from the leather community, just mostly through social media. Definitely not too much in person, but. What is the basis of what is the leather community? What is some background about the leather community? What is a leather family? Just impart all of the knowledge on me because I really don't know.
It's so much. There is so much history. There's so much diversity. There's so much that has changed within the time that I've gotten into it in the last 6 years. Leather is protocol. A lot of people are doing leather and don't know that they're doing it. Leather is not about the dress itself. And that's actually called leather Levi because everybody that's a leather person does not wear leather.
Leather Levi.
Yes. So we have a lot of vegan. We have
vegan leather.
Vegan people. So Levi is that section, and that's the original. It was leather Levi. And it was the bikers.
Yeah.
These were military gay men that started this scene. Okay. But what they were doing is kinky. What they were doing is basically the protocol behind it.
Which looks like what in the leather community? As far as it differentiates from like BDSM in traditional DS dynamics.
BDSM is the protocol. So it's in the way that you operate and how you do things. If you see a submissive, so one of the things was
what denotes a submissive from a dom in a leather community or a leather family or in leather spaces.
The operation of how they do things, their mannerism. And so, but that has changed because we're so inclusive now.
Okay.
So originally, if, and I'm getting on bullshit points. If you were in a club or a bar in the leather scene back then, submissives wore white shirts. Okay. Dominant men wore black shirts or gray shirts.
And at that time, the leather scene was men only.
Mainly men. Okay. There were other people, but it was mainly men. Like I said, the protocol is what made the scene, and that started with men. Okay. That was the military men. The protocol was, and this is going to fuck a lot of people up. If I was at the club and I am a dominant, and I see a submissive person because they've shown me that they're submissive because they have on their white shirt, if I told them to come here, and they came here, that was consent. Whatever the fuck we did, and I made you do, you consented to it already. There was no, I had a choice, or I was into this, or I like to do that. That was not it. That's not how it started. So that's what I mean by there's elevation in everything that you do, and you evolve into a whole new thing, gradually to graduate. You'll learn, that's my affirmation for today, gradually to graduate. You'll find that a lot of things back then changed as the people got older or they got more into things and they wanted to move forward with stuff. So, like I said, if you saw the submissive came, it was about the dress code, what we call code. I could walk into a room and read the room. I can know who I was going to talk to and who I wasn't going to talk to by what they wore and how they wore it. The colors that
bandanas.
they wore. The hanky code was part of it, but that was still a little further down in the scene.
Okay.
But that was the signal. So I could see what side that you wore your flag on and what color, and then I knew what you were into.
Okay.
And I knew if you were the top or the bottom, if you were the dominant or the submissive. And it was mainly slave at the time because it was master slave. It wasn't as much of as a submissive. It wasn't much of a bottom. Or like what you thought with the D types, it wasn't top. It was, everybody was sir.
Okay.
We greet everybody as sir until we're told otherwise. I still call people ma'am, and that's because I have a southern upbringing. Even though I'm from Detroit, I have a southern upbringing. I still call people ma'am, but I have to look for collars and stuff so that I don't fuck over the person and miscommunicate with the people. Because a lot of times, even a slave was, when you walked into the space and it was a kink space and it was for that, they were asshole naked.
That's what I'm talking about.
You didn't have no leather. Leather was gifted to you.
Okay.
Because it was earned. It was not,
you don't just come in with it.
Just buy it. That was...
The kids got it good these days.
I bought all my shit. But I've been gifted a lot. So that's another thing I can tell you about it. As the scene has progressed and how it's moved, then adding in the heterosexual part to it and norms of it, those persons coming in, the operation and how you do stuff, like you had to be winged in by someone. You didn't just step into the scene. You came into the scene because somebody brought you into the scene. It was something that they felt into you. It was something that they knew that you knew how to keep secret, that you weren't just out there blabbing. Like now that we have all of the stuff that is going mainstream, it actually kind of hurts the scene itself.
Why? I have a thought about that as well, but I want to
because it changes so many operations and then it takes away from the arousal.
So I have this kind of idea, like as you were saying, when COVID happened and all of these new kinksters are coming into the scene. I'm primarily in the swing space right now, but even still, the swing space is still seeing this influx of people.
Yes.
And so there's so many people that are green, and so they need to be caught up. They need to get caught up to speed. They need to be educated, right? And then there's so many people that are like, I can make money throwing these parties, and now they're on parties and they're not teaching people the right way because they don't know the right way. So it's like this thing where it's like you have to like tiptoe and dabble because a lot of people are in it right now, but don't really know the proper ways to move. And I'm not saying that there's one way to move about, but you need to have a basis understanding of like consent. You have to, like, in all of kink, BDSM, swing, leather, all of it, you have to have the foundation at which any of this community is built on is consent. And a lot of people don't understand that, or they don't know what it looks like, or their definition of consent, the way they were taught it was different. And it's like...
it's not what your uncle taught you.
It's not what your uncle taught you. Consent is easy. Did I give you permission to do this thing, to engage in this thing with me? Yes or no? If I did not give you explicit permission and say, like, I want to do this, or let you know clearly where you're not confused of whether or not I want to. If you're confused, you didn't get consent.
So I'm going to go into that when we talk about consent.
Oh, you can go to it now.
So what happens with that is we have a lot of upbringing where we were taught to talk to a woman in a certain way as a man. Catcalling, all that type of shit. So right now, at this point, you should be canceled for that.
Yes.
For catcalling and stuff. But yet we got TikTok videos of women telling, because men have on their...
The hoochie daddy shorts.
To catcall them.
I was going to ask you, because I got into a little argument with some of my friends about that. If you're walking down the street and you get catcalled, do you feel good about it, or would that make you feel uncomfortable?
I think it's dependent on the person.
Okay.
Which I think everything is about attraction.
Yeah.
Everything is about attraction. And so if you are not attracted to it, it's like the bitch. But then it's like, if you're attracted to it, like, nigga, you might get fucked. keep
Don't
it up.
play with me.
Yeah.
I mean what I say.
It's really about attraction. And that's why I'm going to go back into the consent, because even consent has to deal with a lot of attraction. There are a lot of people that see something and they want to do something, okay? And they'll consent to it. Mm-hmm. Then when their friend don't like what it is, oh, I didn't consent to that. And now you have a lot of dominants and a lot of service tops that don't want to work because of that whole situation of fear of being canceled, because people change their minds or they can't be real with themselves. And so they use consent as that basis. Well, because now I can take my consent back at any time. So consent is used as a weapon right now.
I have not seen that. I've definitely heard of doms, especially in New York, getting canceled, but because they have some very risky, interesting, intricate shit going on with the people that they decide to play with. But I've never seen consent in that way weaponized. But I also like to let me see, how can I say this? I'm very particular about where I spend my time. The spaces that I spend my time, the people that I spend my time. If I go somewhere and I'm not feeling, if I went to a party and y'all didn't give a consent speech before the party kicked off, I ain't coming back.
Which is 99% of them do not.
I'm not coming back. That is for me. That is a hard requirement, because if you are not taking the time to make sure that I am safe in your space, you don't give a fuck about me. Nope. And I'm leaving. And I don't want to, as a person who's definitely, I'm a switch, but I've definitely dabbled more into the subspace lately. I've really been enjoying that. I don't want to have to step into when I come here, I don't want to have to educate all the time and have to when I have to tell somebody, like, okay, this is what consent looks like, and this is why you can't just slap my ass, and this is like, when I have to have those conversations, it takes me out of that role. I paid my money to be here, or I took my time to be in here because I wanted to be in that space, and now I have to step out of that to do this and step back into it, and I don't want to have to do that. So if you can't teach your people, as a person who's like an event host, if you can't teach your people how to operate in this space, it's not a safe space for me. It's not a space that I'm comfortable in being in. It's not a space that I want to go to.
There are a lot of promoters that have never even been to an actual real party.
Whew.
There are a lot of promoters that don't understand safety for people.
They don't even understand the small things as having seeds and having scissors around to make sure you can cut somebody up. They don't understand like those things that you need to know when you do it, and you know it, you know it. Like,
I guarantee you, half of the people that are event promoters, especially a lot of times the swing community, that will have a kinkster come in and to do different demos on people, that the person that's promoting the party don't even know what's involved in what the kinkster is doing. Don't even know if you're putting your people in danger. But yet, because you know that you can charge that mail ticket is $150, you don't even give a fuck. Or you even get into the party and then that mail ticket was $150, but now you need more men in the party, and then you turn around and you charge them $200 at the door. And then that man is coming in there thinking that this is a fuck party. He better get some pussy
for $200.
This is a fuck party. But what you don't know about what the clubs do is that they have ringer women.
What's a ringer woman?
This is the woman that I've paid to have sex with those men that they have not gotten sex.
Are you serious? Oh, hell to the no.
Do you think that these clubs would survive if they just waited on just the women to come in? Most women will come to a party for free and not fuck anyone in the party. She'll sit there and she'll have an attitude and she'll drink up all the liquor and everything else, and then she'll walk right on out the door. And now your men that's actually paying for the building, that's paying for the liquor and the alcohol, that's paying for your Uber to get back and forth, forgetting these Ubers is $50, $60. So you're dependent on those tickets. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that. So now you're going into that whole situation as a promoter.
I am really amazed by this idea of a ringer woman, and I would love to talk to somebody who has actually done that. Because I don't know, maybe because if I want to fuck you, I just don't want to fuck you. Like, I'm not. I don't want to do it.
The mentality, a reason why a lot of men do not get any sex is because of their attitude, is their approach. And
I agree with that.
And we're falling apart on approach because we're all in our phones and we're on the internet and we're not actually talking to people anymore. We literally have lost socialization.
Absolutely. Definitely would say that. People are very weird sometimes in person. Even if sometimes I find myself, I feel very awkward. Like, I tend to be pretty social, but also sometimes I feel really awkward. And sometimes I also just don't want to socialize with people. Like, that's a thing. But you'll be surprised how hard it is to actually find men to come to play parties. As like an event host,
yeah,
solo women's tickets sell the fastest. Couples tickets, gone. Solo men tickets are so hard to get rid of.
Because it's a bill.
So I don't do the gender pricing.
Okay.
I don't do the gender pricing. It's a flat rate. Solo is solo. I do solos and duos. I'm about to start doing trios, but solo and duo, and that's it. I don't do the gender pricing because I don't like the idea of somebody feeling like I paid more to get in here, so I better get my money's worth type thing. Like, I don't like that. I don't like the way that feels. And quite honestly, somebody else had brought it up to my attention. They were like, honestly, the women got the money. If you're gonna charge people more, charge the women more. They got the bag, and women will pay for what they want.
There, the men will come.
But I don't try to have my stuff with that mentality. Pay the price, and I'm not. Another thing, when I host events and stuff like that, I'm not doing it to make $10,000 off of an event. Like, yes, I want to make money. No, I do not want to take an L on anything, and I would like to make some money because it's a lot of time and effort that gets put into. But I am not doing this to be the next whatever the fuck. Like, I'm doing this because I wanted spaces to commune in this way. Right. And I want to make sure that I have spaces for people who also want to do the same things that I want. It's selfish. It really, it might sound bad, but it was out of a selfish need. I wanted spaces that looks like it felt like what I wanted spaces.
That's why you come to pay your money, so that you have a good time.
Exactly.
And a lot of people feel like they're in full tension when they walk into a lot of places. Mm-hmm. So just letting y'all know, I am a professional events planner. I did wedding planning. I've done $1 million weddings. I working in Chicago. I ran a catering department for a tri-campus university.
You do everything.
So that's where my hospitality background came from. I've worked in law firms, research firms, all of that as their hospitality director. Okay. So that's why I was in New York.
Okay.
And I've lived in places, Chicago, Vegas, New York, Detroit, Houston, Oklahoma City, Tulsa,
all over the place.
So, and that was my main thing. Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't know is I have really bad social anxiety.
Really?
So when I walk into a space and I'm kind of looking down, or I'm always on my phone, it's because I'm trying to get a feel for the space, or I really don't feel comfortable if I don't know people. Like when I told Boone when I came to Experience Kobe, that was the first time that I met everybody except for Oya. I've been knowing Oya for a few years.
Zer Oya. Yeah.
So that was the only reason why, walking into that space, I knew who he was. I didn't know anybody else there. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of had to figure out how
that was not the vibe that I don't think I have social anxiety. Social anxiety isn't something that I deal with, but I do deal with anxiety in different ways. But that was definitely not the vibe that you gave off, because you came into the house, you were just with the shits. Like, you was just, with it with everybody. Because
I had to, but then when you go into the bedroom, it's like, okay, did I fuck up? Did I say the wrong shit? Because a lot of times it's like, did I say the wrong shit?
Okay.
To people. And then I've been in a lot of spaces that a lot of other people have not. And so I see a lot of different things that other people don't. I'm scanning rooms when I walk into it. I'm looking for a whole lot of shit. I'm looking at what I can get away with and what I can't. I'm a gay man, and I'm in mostly heteronormative spaces. So there's a lot of shit that I can say and that I can't say because I don't want to disrupt the party.
Okay.
But then sometimes I have to disrupt the party because of
Dungeon Master?
Of dumbass people. And I am usually Dungeon Master, mm-hmm. But I have to interrupt certain things on how a lot of times operation. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have to deal with more women when it comes to operation than men.
I'm not surprised.
The women sometimes take it a whole lot further, and they use the excuse, oh, I'm a woman.
So I just had an event this past weekend, and a guy came to me after the party, and he was like, he pulled me to the side, and he was like, can I talk to you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, I didn't know how to tell you this, but like there was a woman here, and she just made me feel a little uncomfortable. And I'm like, what was she doing? He was like, she was like touching me and like grabbing me. And I'm very explicit when I give my consent speech of I give an example of what consent looks like. Literally, I will tell you verbatim how you can ask somebody, I try to lay that out. So the fact that happened, and then he couldn't, she had already gone, he waited till the end of the night, he couldn't tell me what she looked like, and I was a little frustrated, because I was like, I want to know, because people who, I'm a zero tolerance person. One time you fuck up and you're out, that's it. I'm not going to allow you to continue to intrude on my space if you don't know how to act when you are in my space. So that was a little frustrating for me.
A lot of times when we fail to forget that we are still in the times where gender has its privileges. And because we're moving into a lot more people that are going genderless, we have to make sure that when we make our speeches and what we're talking about, that we include them into that speech.
Yes.
Because a lot of times women think that the consent thing doesn't apply to them. It only applies to the man, and you're directly talking to the men when you say it. And that's why a lot of men won't come to events, because they be like, shit, I know that, and I don't operate like that. But me walking into the space, not everybody's going to feel like that. If they don't know me, I'm the outcast. I'm the problem.
And that was the reason. So when I do my consent speech and I give my example of what consent looks like, as a woman giving the consent speech, I purposely, usually, it's the man coming to the woman and saying, you're beautiful and I would love to, whatever the hell. I make sure I do that to a man because I want you to see it both ways. Like we know that it's going to happen the other way, but I also want you to see it the other way so that you can acknowledge the fact that it's not a one-sided thing. Both parties, all parties, whoever it is involved, just fucking get permission. It's the easiest thing in the world. Just get permission. Nobody wants to leave a space and feel uncomfortable.
And people, when y'all getting permission from people, when someone is speaking to you, you don't have to be rude to the person just because you don't want to. No does not have to be so fucking harsh.
It doesn't have to be harsh. It don't have to be rude. It could be like, thank you, but no, I'm okay.
I thank you for asking me, but at this time, I just not comfortable at this time. Maybe later, maybe not. Turn into a joke, but thank you. Thank you, and even if you do see me do it with someone else, just don't take it personal.
I'm not going that much into detail. I'm going to say thank you.
Because now what I've learned from that is that when it's more social, when it's more acceptable it that way, and the people understand that, they'll understand that the next time it happens to them, they won't take that offense. All of this shit is a learning process.
Yes, very much so. And you got to take, really on both sides, you got to take your ego and check that shit at the door.
And a lot of people don't.
Check
a lot
your
of people
ego
walk
at
into
the door,
I'm
top
this person,
or bottom.
I'm this person. And I'll be like,
at the door.
Okay, bitch, you ain't nothing.
You ain't. So I wanted to do an icebreaker. All right, we're gonna do a quick one. So I am going to throw out a letter.
Okay.
And you have to think of the most, rapid fire, the most vulgar word that you can think of that starts with that letter.
Ooh, vulgar word.
Okay? You
okay,
ready? L.
Lust.
P.
Pussy.
M.
Masturbation.
B.
Bitch.
D.
Doggy style.
O.
Obtuse.
Obtuse.
Oh, there's a lot of things you can do in an obtuse manner.
Okay. And last one, I'm going to give you Q. Throw the switch up the game a little bit. Switch up the game. Come on. Queef was the first word that came into my mind. Queef.
Damn. I forgot. Damn, that's one of the words you forget about.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It be happening a little too often. I can't quite forget about
that's
it.
That's the new normal. That's the new thing they like to.
You know what's funny? There's a lot of things that people like that I be like.
They don't even say queef. They say fart on it. Make it talk. Everybody wanted to make it talk now.
I heard somebody last night. Literally, I was sitting right where you were sitting last night at an event. And this woman said that she's from England, and she said that you know how when we were little, the girls you call your vulva your pocketbook, your cookie, like the cute thing that you call it. She said they called it your front bottom. Front bottom, like.
Oh my God! I would laugh at it from here, but I'd be like, huh? Or it'd be one of those when I turn my head and be like, huh?
Front. She said front bottom. I was like. And I had to ask a couple people. I was like, it makes sense, so I know what she's talking about. But also a front bottom. I thought that was very interesting.
The English people, they're
very picky.
Yeah,
what you tool?
It's different. Like you gotta be on it yourself when you deal with. But that's with anybody else's.
Every culture is different, and I respect it for what it is, and I appreciate it for what it is. I just know that me being. I'm a very raunchy person. Okay. Yeah, of course, you turn it off when you have to turn it off and stuff. But I enjoy being a very raunchy person. I love to sit in my raunch and my filth and my just disgustingness. And so having to call I like to call my coochie or my pussy a front bottom.
I love that the word coochie came back.
Yes,
and it's not derogatory like it was when I was a kid. When you said a coochie, that means
it was like dirty.
Stank.
Yeah,
and. Me being like I said, and I'm one of the gays, and I came from ballroom, I came from pageantry. So when we say cunt, that was a term of endearment. Yeah. But I said cunt me and my gay friends were saying cunt in front of some white women that we used to work with. And she turned around, why are you being so disgusting? And I was like, huh? And then she gave us the whole synopsis of what that really meant to them. Like, that was the dirtiest word.
And you were like, no, we've reclaimed it.
I was like, oh. And I had apologized, like, I am so sorry. And then I had to tell her why that was a term of endearment for us. Mm-hmm. And it kind of leveled itself out. But I was like, oh, shit.
I said something wrong.
Yeah. Watching what you say.
Yeah, know your audience. Know who you're speaking to. I am assuming that you don't know what the term funsexual is, but just hearing the word, what would you assume the word funsexual meant?
Things that lead to sexual endeavors, but in a fun way. Or I would say fun way, or I would say what the fuck is that word? Spontaneous way.
Okay. So in coming up with the word funsexual, my thought behind it was like, sex is this beautiful thing. Okay. It feels great. It's amazing. And I feel like sometimes we get lost in the enjoyment of sex when we try to make it serious all the time. And I'm not saying that to say that sex is not supposed to be a serious thing. Like, there are serious ramifications and repercussions of having sex and stuff. But it is still meant to feel good. It is still meant to be fun. You're still meant for everybody. You're still meant to laugh. Like, it's meant to be this enjoyable thing. And I feel like sometimes, even in BDSM, I feel like BDSM goes really dark and heavy a lot of the time, where there's a light side of BDSM. There's the playful side of BDSM that people, and I think that shock value in social media, everybody loves the shock value. They love the thing that they can turn into a clip that is going to make people say, "Oh, I got to see that," or whatever. But
because it's all about the look.
You know what I'm saying? It is, unfortunately. It's all about the likes. It is, unfortunately. But I wanted to soften it up a little bit and get back to the fun parts of sex. Okay. And so this episode, I'm really excited because one of the fun parts of sex that we get to talk about, and sometimes it doesn't even involve sex, is what you do as far as fire play. So I've been seeing it getting around a lot more on social media, in the kink spaces, in the black kink spaces, people doing fire play. Shout out to you, Marvelous, Sir Marvelous. I see what you're doing out here in these New York streets. So can you tell me your fire play origin story? How did you get into it? Where were you? What sparked that interest? First of all, is fire play considered edge play?
Yes.
Okay. What is edge play for people who don't know?
Sensory or edge. So edge play is basically something that is more dangerous than anything.
Things like
knife play, knife play, gun play.
Is choking is asphyxiation considered edge? Okay.
Knockout play is kind of more what we call it. Knockout. That's still the strangulation.
Okay. So you black out?
Yeah.
It's called knockout play?
Yeah.
Knockout play.
Well, no. Let me correct myself. Okay, so there's asphyxiation play, and that's with the.
You gotta make sure you're talking towards the mic.
That's asphyxiation play is more about the what you call it. Then you have auto asphyxiation when you do it to yourself.
No.
And then knock yourself out. But then another part of that edge play is the knockout play, and so part of the knockout play can go from either someone doing it where it literally can be hits, it literally can be drugs.
Oh wow!
So knockout play is a bigger thing that's in the gay community. And,
okay. The gayer community.
Because all this shit to me is gay. It can get really bumpy into what you call knockout play. Because at first, when I first heard about it, it was basically the drugs. But then they said, no, it's more than the drugs. This is about literally getting knocked the fuck out, or the drugs, or.
Is that I'm assuming that that's something that's not going to happen in a club, though. That's not the way people are playing in the club. Oh, okay, my bad.
There are
because even as a dungeon master, I would imagine you see some shit like that. You be like, yo, chill out.
So let me tell you what part of the dungeon master part is. Literally, when you're doing the scene, you're supposed to let the dungeon master know what's going on, or if you're doing a racier thing, race play, something like that. You're supposed to let the dungeon master know, so they know what to look for. They'll know if you're doing it right or wrong. Most time, the dungeon master has been around long enough to know what to look for and what not to disturb. Mm-hmm. But they also, if you're going to be doing this knockout play and shit like that at a club or at an event, as long as the DM knows, if somebody else interferes or tries to interfere, we can stop.
Yeah.
They've already discussed this. That was within their consent, and that's what they're doing. So you don't have to worry. If it's a problem for you, we can escort you over here to this space until it's done. And that's how I operate that stuff. I knock a lot of shit out before it happens. But also because of the spaces that I've been in, I know who does what.
Yeah.
So when it gets to that point, a lot of times they don't even have to tell me because I can look at their play bag and know, oh, they about to do that. She about to get this.
You say that, and my mind went to one specific person. When we were talking about in LA, my mind went to one specific person because I've never met a masochist like that in my life.
Yes, it's like I can look at their play bag. I know the person, and then I know the bag, or the box, or the roller, or whatever, and you be like,
okay, it's one of them nights.
Or I'll be like, or I'll tell them and be like, okay, that's a new person. Are they up to it? You know, because some people walk in, they be like, oh, they ain't new. They from such and such and such and such. And I seen their videos and shit. Are they up to it? Because you know you crazy.
Push it to the limit.
So when we talk about that, and that's part of edge play. It's also part of sensory play. So my main kinks are sensory, light bondage, and impact. And I started in impact.
Okay.
My hands.
They legendary in the street.
I got some hands. I started with the impact play, and then I went into the sensory play. One of my kinks is sensory overload.
Ooh, okay.
So how I got into the fire play was when I came into the leather community, I didn't know what my specific kink was, and so I was still trying to fish for it as I was pledging Onyx. I am a part of Onyx New York Northeast.
What is Onyx New York Northeast?
So Onyx is a leather patch organization for gay, bisexual, pansexual, fluid men and trans men are all on an equal level. So as a full member, you have the large patch on your back. As an associate member, you have the small patch. As an associate member can be anyone. Women, men, women, non-binary, whatever. But to get a full patch, which grants you voting rights and office, you have to have large patch, and you have to be a person of color. We have no Caucasian, whatever you want to call it.
The whites.
YTS. We don't have any of those in office. So they will not be able to sway our rules of how we operate. We currently have 9 full chapters, and we're regional. But now we're branching. I just looked on our website. I think we have 2 other chapters that are about to start. We do have a sister organization, which is the Onyx Pearls.
Ew.
They are in every area that you'll see Onyx. So you can go to onyxmen.com, and that'll lead you to all of it and answer any other questions, because the website is really to it, and it'll take you to the regional websites so that you'll know who those people are, those officers, what events are happening, because every chapter is responsible for monthly events. So you have to involve. And so our biggest thing is education. Generally, everybody that is a person of Onyx can teach something.
Okay.
In the kink scene. Exploring, having those BIPOCs in your area to help, to explore with. Those are people that you can call on. And just being good with it, and empowerment, and empowering the people. If you think about anything that has to do with leather, and you think about any of the leather organizations or the big conferences, there is a person of Onyx sitting on a panel or within something. You can't. We are the #1 largest club from the Pantheon.
Okay.
Because we are a large club. So just, if you see somebody with that patch on, approach them, ask them questions. They will help, or they will direct you to someone else that can help.
And a question that I get a lot of times when I talk about pretty much anything, people are like, how can I get into that? So this is a good resource. If the leather community is something that you might be interested in, definitely check out that site, check out the Instagram page. The basis of all, you definitely want to get your knowledge, and whatever it is that you want to get into, learn about it, ask questions, pay somebody to teach you.
We work with the straights. We work with all the straights. We work with all of us.
We'll teach
We work with everyone. So
what was your fire play origin story? How did you?
So when I was becoming Onyx and I was pledging, and so pledging takes between 6 to 8 months to get through your learning your histories and things. You come to find out what it is the kinks are. So there was a long list that they gave us one day in class, and we had to mark off the shit that we knew we were into. Well, half the shit I didn't know what the fuck it meant. So as they were saying it to me, I was like, damn, I did that. I had damn near did 3/4 of the list, but I didn't know what it was because I wasn't in the
vocabulary.
Yeah, I didn't know the vocabulary. So that's one of my classes I teach. So at that point, I had saw one of my Onyx brothers from Midwest chapter, which is our founding chapter, do fire play on one of our other brothers at IML, which is International Mr. Leather, which they just passed. They just had one. It was 2 weeks ago. So we have a new Mr. IML. I saw him do it, and I was like, ooh, they do that? You can put that on people like that?
I want to do that with.
So I used to twirl fire baton for my college.
Okay.
So, I knew about all of that type of stuff.
You were already into it.
Did the fire, but it's a little bit different because we use kerosene sometimes, or we use white gasoline to do fire batons and stuff, and the materials are a little bit different. So I knew some protocol. I've taken fire classes with the fire department and stuff like that years ago. So I knew certain things. So when I come to find out that we could do this with alcohol and I could put it on the body, I was like, ooh, I want to get into that.
You was like,
shit.
oh, I'm in.
So what happened was that same brother ended up relocating to New York for his job. And what happened was we were having one of the pledges was having a party at his house. And it was, it's called Sins of the Flesh. It was a Halloween party. And basically everybody was just whatever.
That sounds sexy.
So the next thing I know, we're outside in the backyard. And mind you, all I got on is some chaps and an apron that I made. I had made this badass damn apron out of denim. And I had upholstery needles that was this long sticking through it. And I did my eyes like I was the executioner. Okay. So I'm thinking like, okay, this is going to be fun for the day.
Try to shut down. Go ahead.
Again?
No, go ahead. Do your thing.
So after that, I turn around. He comes downstairs. He was like, Bobby, so I'm going to put you on the table for tonight. I said, what you mean put me on the table? He's like, oh, we're going to do fire play. He didn't ask me. He said,
we're doing fire play. You are bottom.
He was like, I already have somebody to do the wax. I was like, huh? And so that's how I ended up doing it that night. So that was my first time. I bottomed for my first time. And I fell asleep on the table. I loved it. There are certain aspects of fire play that I don't like, and that's because I don't like stinky shit. Okay. So sometimes there's a thing we call like marimba and you drumming. I do a lot of it on a lot of people. Yes, I've seen this. And then, but to have it done on me, I'll be like, okay, bitch, get off that spot. Get out the way. Ow. And shout out to Marvelous again, because last night, Marvelous picked me up from the airport. He and Siphon picked me up. And so I actually let them do a scene on me last night.
Oh, dope.
And I told him, I said, just do what the fuck you do. He was like, I'm going to do a massage. I was like, just do what the fuck you do. And I let him go way further than I went with a whole lot of people, because I am very particular about the shit that happens.
Are you a switch?
I'm not a switch.
Okay.
But I will bottom for demos. I will bottom for shit for people to get the education on it. Yes. I do have a high pain tolerance. Okay. So I allow a little bit more shit. But then when it just get out of the way, I'd be like... And I had them laughing because I cannot keep a serious face when people try to do the... you like this shit. That shit has me rolling. I cannot keep a straight face through that shit. I'm silly, period. Yes. So, so I am the one that's responsible for him doing his fire play. Dope. And moving forward. And so that was a good thing last night, because him doing fire play on me, and I wasn't scared to let him do it. And this is my pupil doing this on me.
It's a full circle moment.
And it worked. And it was correct. Yes. It wasn't, he didn't hesitate. He didn't do all, a lot of times I teach a lot of people, and then sometimes they still hesitate. And it'd be 2 or 3 years later and they're still hesitant. Yeah. He flowed with it last night. He's
been doing it, like Marvelous has been in a lot of scenes. He's been doing the podcast, the expos, the shows, the parties, and all that stuff. So he's definitely getting his practice in. For sure. For sure.
So that was part of it. But what happened was, how I really got into it is I was working at a club called Decadence. and this is with under Kat and Master Joshua. So Master Joshua was also a member of Onyx at the time. And
are these people still in New York?
they're still in New York. They
Okay.
still do things, and I'm gonna get into that part too. One of my other organizations is called the Kink Collective. The Kink Collective are members in the kink community. We are a very eclectic bunch. When I say that, meaning all gender roles and presentations, all sexualities and presentations, all nationalities. Like we have somebody in every nationality within the Kink Collective, and it's only maybe like 24, 25 people.
Okay.
So one of the things that we did was we had Media Mondays where we would go in on Monday, go into the club, and then whatever everybody wanted to do, they put out their new toys and shit like that, and they made video. Whoever wanted to bring their camera, they took pictures. So we had content. We had Wednesdays where we had topping classes, where you learn how to wield different instruments and things like that.
That's dope. That's the shit. That's the shit that needs to be brought back. More education based.
But you gotta have a space.
Yes. But there's so many fucking spaces. It's New York.
That's been the part. When I say we have to have a space, Kat owned that space,
Okay.
so it was free.
Okay.
But if I go somewhere else, I got to get them $1,300 for a night.
Okay, I feel you.
You see what I'm saying? And I don't have that. So we were able to do stuff like that. So now, working in Decadence, I was asked to DM a party. That's how I ended up working there. I ended up DMing a party. This is my first time. And this is when I learned about, now I really have to ask people what they do. Because Joshua did a scene with Kat, and I'm sitting on the couch, and they're like really where their stool is at. And this was a very hardcore impact scene, to the point there was blood, there was...
Oh, that's where I draw the line.
Yes. So, and this is happening in my face, and I'm damn near in tears because this is bringing me back. I'm triggered because this is taking me back to me dealing with my mama and my dad and shit like that. So I'm triggered.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, there's a fire scene going on over here. There's people making out on the couch right there. There's a line of couches, and there's people up there making out, and people laying in cuddle puddles and shit.
Yes.
There's somebody getting a spanking over here. There's
But
a person
the fire is what got you.
There's
the impact what got you.
Yeah, there was a person getting suspended over here. There was another spanking bench. There was a cross right here. But this is the scene that I was watching the most out of all of them as I'm sitting there making sure that the crowd. But there's other DMs there. This is before we became Kink Collective. And so I'm watching and I'm trying to see all of the stuff that's going on because I'm making sure that everybody's okay. You know, we have in-house submissives that bring the water for aftercare or help the person to the aftercare couch, which is in another room. This is where I get this from. Any party that Kat had, before we would even let play happen, you had to be there at a certain time.
To hear the consent speech?
It's more than consent speech.
Okay.
There was a whole front of the club that's about the size of this. We had a kitchenette. We had hors d'oeuvres. We had drinks. You had to get to know the people that were in the room. So we would switch tables. We had high boys. And you switched around the tables and the couches, and you sat and you got to talk to the people. And I would come in and be like, ooh, guess what I bought? And so other people in the room saw what it is that you had, and you talked about it. At 9:45, she cut the music off. She told everybody to pay attention. They introduced the staff members. They introduced who the DMs were. They introduced people that were working your bar, your coat check. Everybody was introduced. So you knew who these people were anytime that you came in there. Also, she did a small introduction. Your name, what's your availability, are you looking to play, thing around the room. And then she gave the actual consent speech and what consent looked like. They actually did a scene, a small scene of how consent is supposed to work. So that you have a clear understanding
there is no, I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
No, it was lined out. You saw it.
And, there were some language barriers, but we knew how to work with that. So if I saw something go wrong, I didn't immediately kick a person out the club. I brought that person to the office, and we had a speech about it, and we talked about it, what was going wrong with it, because sometimes...
And then you kicked them out?
It depends on what it is. Reason being, because some people don't even know that they're making a consent violation. Everything can be, but you don't know what it is that you're doing. Everybody don't know. And that's one of the reasons why we have these problems that we have, because you don't know. What is me kicking you out and then you go to somewhere else and you do it again?
And that's what I was talking to one of my girlfriends about that. She was like, she was like, people need to be educated. You can't just kick people out because they're gonna go to another space and they're gonna just do it in another space because they don't even know what they do.
And now that person's gonna see it and be like, well, I don't go to the clubs because they be doing all this stupid shit up in it.
That was I took a high year off. I took my hiatus in 2019. 2019 was a hell of a year because I had just moved back from I came into the lifestyle in the DMV. Okay. And so I came up here, was up here for a couple months. I was like, all right, let me, get my feet wet. My friends weren't kinky. My family up here. I didn't know anybody really in the scene up here. So I was like, let me just go to a club. I went to a club in New York. I went to fucking Labyrinth. I don't know if you know of it.
I know Labyrinth very well.
And I went there one night there, and I was like, I'm leaving the lifestyle. This was great, and I'm out. And I took almost a full year off after going there because, like, they just the understanding of consent across. It's not one understanding of consent across the board. Everybody has their different understandings. And it's not a hard. I think that consent is a blanket concept, but people don't see it that way. And so they were moving a little too crazy up here, and I was like, I'm not coming back into the lifestyle. And then
every word, I'm gonna put this out there. Every word that you come up with. So if you come up with a word like you should funsexual,
it's gonna be a whole bunch of different understandings of it.
To do the what we did in school when you made the branch from that,
the Latin roots.
Yeah, that has to be done for everything that you put out there.
I agree.
And consent needs to be done like that so that you understand that there's many operations or many different looks of that consent.
I think that consent should have a blanket definition. In kink spaces, I think consent should have a blanket definition.
Well, the blanket statement is just ask.
Literally, that's what it
just
is.
Just ask.
Oh, okay. So in fire play.
So then, what happened was in Decadence we have service tops, which are the people that will do demonstrations on you. Demos across the board with the kinky. So if you see something that you like, can I try that? Are you open to this?
Yes.
That. So at Decadence, we have 5 other fire tops. So that's basically where I got my skill play from, by watching them. My big sister Teresa, big brother Joshua. Who else was at the club at that time? Big Papa was there. Shermy is like that's like the deity of fire play for New York City. And so I knew what I was doing because I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I learned by doing. But what happened was Shermy had a class there. He was teaching fire play. He was doing couples. And they didn't have enough fire bottles, so I fire bottled for the class. So that's me learning some extra shit from the class. And then I didn't get a chance to see Shermy for a while. But by that time, they had me working in the club like everybody else. So literally, like I said, we would have our sessions where they talked and stuff like that. You set up your scenes before you even went into the back. So they'd be like, Teresa got 5 people to do. I got 3. Pup, Kenzo. Shout out to Pup Kenzo.
I follow Pup Kenzo. That's the person I was talking about, Mr. Eagle.
Yep, Mr. Eagle. He would have his 3 or 4 people, so we already had our scenes set up. And what it is whoever got there first took out their fire kit and set that on the table. And everybody just used your shit. It was no sense of, keep switching it out. And what happened was the difference is we started doing parties outside of Decadence itself. And I ended up becoming a resident fire player.
Okay.
Because I was moving fast in the skill. I wasn't just in it. So just to let you know what I mean by moving fast, I was going from 1 or 2 scenes a day to doing maybe 8 or 9 people a night. Then it got to the point where it got so heavy that I was working Decadence, Paddles, Pendulum, and then I was doing Chris. Shout out to Debash.
Yes.
I was doing Chris's parties. I was organizer. I was doing Dub, so Dub exclusive. I was doing Dub's parties. And I was literally, for 9 months straight, every single weekend, I was doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, somewhere. And I was
burned out? Put up
I was doing maybe between, I would say the lowest number I would do would be about 5, but up to 16 people a night.
Did you ever burn out? Like, I know for me,
I was burnt out within maybe the 4th month, but I'm also a fighter because to me now, I have to do this. If I come to your party and I felt like I started this, I'm the only one that can end that. And it got to the point to where there were people that would come into certain people's parties just because I was coming, just to get the experience of the fire play. I had regulars at a lot of different places, and then COVID hit. So
Dun, dun, dun.
by that time, in my first year, I had done over 1,700 scenes.
That is amazing.
So when I was, my mom and Joshua and Kat was like, it's time for you to teach. And I was like, huh? It was like, you're one of the best fire tops that we've had around. And she said, and you're a black man, and we don't have that many of them that can actually walk into a club. I can go into any club in New York and do fire play. I've actually learned that because they know of my name as the fire marshal. And Teresa's the one that gave me that name. That was so they had a night where all of them had went out of town, and so it was just me and Pup there. And so when they got back in town, they came to the party. And so they were looking around like, so y'all want to play tonight or whatever? And then people was like, nah, Bobby already did. So Teresa was like, also, damn, we got the fire marshal in the house, stuff like that. And then that shit stuck.
And the fire marshal stuck.
And that stuck.
I like it. It fits. It's very, very fitting. So if fire play, edge play in general are things that you just have to be very particular about. Like there is that education like I was talking about before. How is fire play done safely? Like what are safety things that you have to have in place when you're doing fire play? Okay.
So I'm going to put it like this. In everything that's kink, there are three sides to it. It can be sensual, it can be therapeutic, or it can be sadistic. So I take more to the sensual side and the therapeutic side of everything. One of my goals is to have my own spa. So if you see my tools and stuff, that's why it looks in a certain aesthetic. So within building my aesthetic, I have to put safety protocols within my aesthetic. I have to know what it is that I'm using when I touch the body.
Talking to the mic.
I have to have certain things in retrospect to do the fire play. Even though I'm going for a look, I got to be able to make sure that it's safe for me to use. So in that safety, like some of the things that I teach, I actually have a class where I teach the safety of fire-based kinks. So that's fire cupping, and wax.
You saying that made me think when we were in LA, I remember you saying, why would I put something on somebody that I wouldn't do to myself? And you were like, and you can't be, if you're going to do fire play, you can't be afraid to get burnt.
You cannot.
You can't be afraid of the fire.
I will not teach anyone that I don't feel that can multitask, one, or that I feel that does not pay attention. Okay. Because when you're as a fire top, it's really not about you. It's about the bottom because you got to pay attention to a lot of things that's going on. If you say you're a fire top and I never see you beat your hand with it or I never see you go over your own arm with it, I'm not playing with you. Because I need to know that you can even handle the heat. If you can't handle it, then you sure can't put it on nobody else. When I teach my actual fire class, which is called Heated 101, you do not, part of my class is you have to bottom for it to learn the class. If you refuse to bottom, you lose your money. That's it. So your bottom is going to top you, you're going to top the bottom. What y'all do outside of that, that's y'all. This is where I get into the experience about, and I do this with all kinks though. This is the experience. You cannot know exactly what you're doing to a person if you've never had it done to you. And I'm even talking about that with insertables, and a lot of people don't understand that.
Fire insertables?
Not fire insertables, but just insertables, period. Like, there's men that want to fist somebody. Get fisted one time and see how much you like this shit.
It's amazing.
So, a lot of men, they just want to beat the shit out of a person or do that. See if they can take a whip. I didn't say you have to like it.
I don't think that everybody. I don't think you have to bottom for everything. I think you should. You should.
No, you need to experience it. This is why I say that. If I hit you with a whip and I'm hitting you in a certain spot, right? How do you know what that's making them feel like? You've never had it.
That's fair.
You don't know.
That's fair.
So you can't even make up those combinations that you really should be able to make up because you don't even know what they feel like. So with the fire, there's maneuvers that I do. There's certain ways that you pull and drag, the way you move the alcohol across the body to do certain things. The parlor trick is when people think it's foam and it's just mousse. That's a parlor trick. That's...
What about that? I saw somebody putting fire on their tongue and I was like, what?
Yeah, so and fire eating is a whole nother spectrum. And I don't even get into fire eating because I know a lot of people that have been actual hurt. Okay. So fire eating is its own classification. I do not mix the fire eating or when you see people do a lot of the fire poi. they're using a different chemical. That's when they're using white gasoline. Some of them are using butane. What I do for fire play for kink is alcohol. So, and then there's 3 different alcohols. I can't use liquor, regular drinking liquor.
Like vodka?
Yeah, I can use vodka.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't burn as long.
Okay.
Because they take the consistency out of every damn thing.
Okay.
It's
watered down.
Y'all ain't drinking the real shit.
Watered down.
Yeah, y'all ain't drinking the real shit. So with that safety, some of the things that I'm going to look for, like I said, if I see somebody pull out wands and they don't know how to even put it on themselves, we're not playing. If there's no water source near you, I'm not playing. And what I mean by water source, meaning if there ain't no bucket of water, ain't no bottles of water standing around them, or no sink, no bathroom near. If I don't see them take a towel and the towel is soaking, drenched wet, that's part of those. I need to see your alcohol contents because we use certain numbers on here. So there's a 50, a 70, and a 91. And they're used for different things. A 50 burns a little bit. It's warmer, but it doesn't burn as long. 70 is the general what we use across the board because I can do kind of all the things with it. 91 is when I want to get into some spectacular shit or I want it to last longer or when I want to do these fireballs and shit. And I really want to set your ass ablaze.
Like a candlestick in this bitch.
Right. And then there's moisturizers and you want to watch the moisturizers. You use the oil will burn. So you have to... I think I'm probably the only fire top that actually moisturizes the body before I actually even start. Because most of them like dry skin, and I'm not about the dry skin thing.
Okay.
Because I'm actually dehydrating your body anyway.
Okay. We're using the alcohol and then using the fire. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why I lubricate the bodies before I do it. That's only my little thing. Nobody else does that. But those are making sure that you're not next to like these textured walls. The materials, painted surfaces and things like that can go up in flames faster. Wood doesn't burn as fast if it's treated, but untreated wood goes up. It's like a match.
So have you had instances where something lit up in fire? Okay.
So we were in Soho, and we were at Ordain's place.
Chef.
Okay. I had my table set up behind me. And then so my table is only going to be set up in 2 places. It's either going to be at the feet of the person or behind them. This is just across the board what we do for fire play. Those are the things that you want to do. I had a table sitting, the long 6-foot table, and then I had the guy on the massage bed. Well, somebody was watching it, and he wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. And as I was doing fire play over here, he kicked the table. And the flame caught to the alcohol, the fumes of the alcohol, and the table went up.
Oh, shit.
Now, this is why I talk about multitasking and being a calm person. I turned around, I looked at it, I poured my water on there, I mopped up this table, I dipped my fire wands back in the new alcohol, and I turned back around and went back to work. Going. If you cannot do that, you cannot get into this.
And you can't panic anyway, because if you see some shit like that, you can't just freeze.
I can't let that bottom on the table think that they're in danger. I can't let the people in the room think that they're in danger, or I'll never be able to work again. So those are some of the safety aspects. I took fire classes with the fire department in 2 different cities. I took first responders course, so I know how to deal with that. I've taken burn classes so that I know how to deal with certain burns. I've taken regular medical classes. I wanted to be an EMT at one time, so I took some other classes before that, before I even knew what kink was. These are detrimental to you doing kink as a whole. Learn some of these to deal with. Like, there's people that come to me, even though I'm on the fire table, people will go do heavy impact and have wets and bleeding and shit like that. They bring them to me because I clean it up with fire. I seal the wounds back.
Oh.
So that's what I'm saying.
That's interesting.
That's all part of it. There's a lot of things that you can do with the skills that you learn.
I wanted to bottom for you when you were doing the cupping in LA at the Pop Dungeon. I had just done a really, really awesome impact scene, and then I came to you. You were like, "I'm about to leave. It's time for me to catch my flight." I was like, "Damn it! I missed my opportunity." I felt like the fire was gonna like soothe my little welts and stuff like that. I was excited. Like,
so it could be more intense on you at that point when you a lot of times, a lot of people would go and do their other stuff first, and then they try to come to me last.
Yeah.
But you come to me 2 months later, I'm packing my shit. It's a lot for me to pack.
Yes.
A lot of people don't understand. It's a lot for me to pack. It's a lot for me to carry.
Yes.
And like over here, I have my small bags, but I have shelves of shit. Because I'm aesthetic about it. So I have different looks to pull. My thing about being a top, and this is with all kink too, that when the bottom walks into the room, they should be able to see the setting and feel a certain way about it. And
I agree. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
That sets my scene, and that allows me to relax because now I know that you ain't stressed about that shit. That I ain't got to be stressed about it.
I definitely agree with that. When I see somebody's space, well, I mean, I'm bougie, so I like for things to be a certain way. I like for the people that I play with, especially when I'm going to be doing something that's, you know, a little bit more risky. I want to make sure that you know what the fuck you're doing. Like, my life is in your hands.
That's the whole
like,
part.
I need you to act accordingly.
That's the whole. Even when you're whooping somebody, your life is in their hands.
They can strike the wrong spots, or like, you know, that it's fun. It's all, you know, it's fun, but no, you have to know what the fuck you're doing.
Y'all just don't know how many videos that I look at, and then I see these crazy shit that these people be doing, and you'll be praising these people, and I'll be like, she almost killed her.
I've seen things a couple times. I'm like, they're not supposed to be doing that right there.
At all.
Okay.
And they're getting paid high dollar to get your ass whooped the wrong way.
I am lucky enough to actually we're going to do a scene after we finish this episode. It is not going to be on YouTube, so if you want to check out that scene, you can check it out on X Site Bunny. Once I release this episode, I will also put that scene up and link everything and all the things. So I'm actually lucky enough because this is my first time doing fire play. I'm really excited. I nared my legs yesterday, and I know I missed a patch on one of them, so I was like, I wonder if we could burn some hair off. We could burn some hair off my leg.
So I am a band kid, so most all my years of schooling.
I was a dancer in a band.
I taught the dancers how to shave their legs with fire.
How the fuck?
Because that was back then when we were doing the fire, when I told you I did the fire batoning. There was some of the parts that we did. That was one of the things that we learned. Most barbers know how to trim your ends with fire.
I've seen people do that in videos.
So all of kink shit is literally skills that you use in the therapeutic world that also, we bring to kink, and we say that it's worse than what it is.
We were talking about how innovation and tools and stuff come from need. So it's funny because when Bobby got here, Bobby realized that he left his
I left my wands in Detroit.
The fire wands at home. He was like, let's go to a dollar store. I'm going to buy the stuff, and I'm going to make some wands. And he did the same thing when we were at in LA for the Experience Covered event.
I had to make a pair.
We was in the kitchen, and you were just, we were just talking, and you just in there making wands. So for this week's Let Me Put Y'all On, Bobby is going to put you guys on to DIY tools. And the fact that you don't have to spend, good quality things, and the things, they cost a pretty dollar.
Yes.
But you can make some of your own things. Get innovative. Get creative. And let's see these wands that you just made as we were sitting here before we started recording.
So you can make anything that you want. And one of the biggest things was when I got into fire play and I was asking my brother to teach me.
Make sure you talk to the mic.
He didn't want to. He really didn't want to teach me how to do shit. He's I do it. Look and learn. So I couldn't find out where to get any fire wands. So I asked questions about, okay, what are fire wands made out of? And the first thing it was like, well, they're cotton heads. They use a metal bottom. You know, it was real blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, so I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to make my own.
What I'm hearing is I could do this myself.
I'm going to make my own. I'm a big crafting person. So I was like, I'm going to make my own shit. So I did. I literally, and I'm, like I said, I'm aesthetic, so I went with some shit that I knew that nobody else had. And I went to a hardware store, and I looked for aluminum base, because I knew that aluminum doesn't get hot. So I bought aluminum, I forget what they call those screws. They have a bolt on them. They're about this long, and it has a ring on the end of it. And so I knew that was nothing that nobody else had. I did some fancy wrapping on the shit. And I said, I bought the gauze. So traditional fire wands were made with, American people made them with cotton gauze.
And how much is a traditional wand when you buy a traditional wand?
Between, I would say it's starting at $20, but I've seen some like $150, depending on what they made them out of.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm gonna make them.
how the person said, some part of what the person said. So I went and bought them damn gauze from Dwayne Reed, Walmart. I mean, not Walmart, Walgreens. Them gauze by itself was $20-something for me to have enough to wrap both of them.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not about to do that shit and have to replace these motherfuckers all the time.
Every time.
And so,
because how many uses can you get out of a wand? Like, how many scenes are you getting out of a wand?
So that depends.
Okay.
On what materials I'm using. So at that time, the gauze are white or whatever. So I made the wands. I was ecstatic about the shit. I was living in Jersey in East Orange. I made my little wine set. I got my little candle. I had burnt this candle out with the glass I love. So I used that as my vessel. I laid my little paper out and shit like that. I did all my little shit up. I made a video for it. I lit them wands and them bitches went up and it was pretty. And I was geeked about it. And so I took them to Decadence and I started using them. And the people was looking like, where the fuck you get them from? Grown as shit. Grown as shit. So I wouldn't even let people know that I had actually made them. And then when I released the video, they were like, "You made them?"
I sure did.
Yeah.
And so DIY your kink. Let's.
So at that point, what I found out is they get dirty very fast. When you're rubbing on the body, they get really dirty, and so the white would look disgusting at the end. So I didn't want it. So, like I said, cotton gauze was the thing. So I said, well, what else can I find that's cotton? Dish towels.
Cotton dish rags from the Dollar General.
I went to the Dollar General by his house and I bought some. They were called bar mats, and it had every fucking color. And I was like,
black.
No, I didn't. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna get this gray set because at that time my aesthetic everything was gray.
Okay.
So I said, let me get this gray set. So I did. I cut the towel to the specifics, and I stitched them up. I do have a little bit of a hand sewing. My mom's a seamstress, so I learned how to do that. I cut the towel to the specific size that I wanted, and I wrapped them. And they worked so good for so long. But the same thing happens after a certain while and using them so many times, they get dirty. So when I was working in the club that many times, I was literally changing my wands every weekend.
Okay.
I was also changing them because of the color. Because I was like, oh, well, I'm going in the party. I'm going to do a red this week.
Yeah.
I had the matching red candles.
Match your outfits.
I bought fire cups to match the colors that I wanted and the stuff, like the big candles and everything. So all of my shit matched.
Okay.
So another day happened. I left the wands again.
You got talking to the mic.
I left the wands again. So I was on the road. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to use to make these fire wands? And there was no store, so I ran into a Lowe's. I was like, nah, you can find anything.
There's so much, we would call them convertibles. There's so many convertibles in hardware stores. You can, all types of impact tools and stuff that you can make.
So that's one of my things that I want to do. I actually want to have a munch at a Home Depot or a Lowe's. And that's part of the talk that we talk about is finding this shit. And like, I'm going to pass out sodas and shit to people that have, and we can talk about the shit that we can come up with from the store.
I like that.
So I found these long ass screwdrivers. They had these blue and white handles to it, but they had the black rods to it. And I bought those. I was like, I'm about to use these bitches. Bought my dish towels right out of Lowe's. And I bought some twine. And that shit worked. There's a video of me using it. I think that was one of the actual first videos that most people saw me do. And it was at Chris' party when we were at Malika's house, which is where Lay Organizer, which is
stop, you gotta stop using people's names.
Malika is her name.
Not. Okay, go ahead.
So we were there. That's the Love House. That was the Love House. It wasn't the Love House.
She's moving to her events actually to this space now because she moved to Mexico. She moved to Mexico. She got rid of Love House and now she's hosting her events here. So now you know I got a lot of history going on. A whole bunch of spaces. At that space, that's where I took that video at, that I was using these long ass fucking handle wands. There's another video I did when I was in Rochester. And these big ass things, they was torches, like, and that's what I did. I whooped her ass up there. So one of the things, so like I said, you can find things that are metal. I like metal better. I like a heavier wand in my hand. A lot of traditional wands are made with fondue sticks. And so they have the metal rod, but then they have a wooden handle. Those are too light for me. Okay.
I can't get the striking that I need from it. So, like I said, I cut the tiles into a specific size.
And then what I do is I bought some screwdrivers. These are out of the dollar store. One of the ways that I roll this, and I did this in front of one of the good friends that we just met while we were in LA. And he saw it, and as soon as he got home, he made a whole set. So, I take these. I usually tape this part to the actual thing, and then I roll it. You roll those blunts, you know what I'm doing. And so when you get to a desired size, so with this, like you can add material to this, or you can take it away. Remember that the more material that you make, the more alcohol that it holds, that the more the flame is going to work, or it can actually burn a lot longer. You want to make sure that you're not burning your wines too far, because then you burn them up and then you destroy the material.
Okay.
So once you get it to this spot, then you're going to take some twine. And I'm just going to do this real quick because this usually takes a lot of time.
You just rap. Wrap that thing up.
It's not hard, but if you don't have that type of hand build, then it will be hard for you. You get one good secure piece on there, and then you'll continue to wrap down. Turn it over. This is secure it one way. Turn it down. Rub it again. You want to get this as tight as you can. And you want it tight as you can because you do not want this to slide off. That's another reason why I use the tape. And then I could actually end this with this. And it won't be the most prettiest thing, but the work will be pretty.
But this is the official done fight. You know.
You want to clean these edges up on here because you don't want shit hanging off of it. You'll start seeing sparks or shit fly into the air. You don't want that. So if you do it right and you finally take the time, it'll come out something like this. This is still raggedy. I was just doing some shit.
That look nice to me.
This is raggedy.
Shows how much I know.
So one of the things that you must do when you're making your toys, you need to try them out. You need to test them before you put them on someone else. I actually have another picture on my Instagram where I was trying out some new fire cups and I literally burnt my nipple. So yeah,
I don't mean to laugh at you.
You want to try the shit. I always try out my shit on me before I put it on someone else. So this is 70% alcohol. This is the vessel that I use for this look, which is amber glass, which helps out, especially when you do oils and things like that. It keeps the consistency in the oil and it doesn't make it ferment.
Okay.
I usually let this sit for a second and let it get the alcohol all the way through to get to all of the material. So now if I'm doing this and I'm actually like at a table and I'm getting ready to do this, I do have another garbage can that's usually at my feet that you don't see. And then I'll just take the excess alcohol off of it so that I'm not dripping alcohol anywhere, because that's actually a cardinal sin within the fireplace, is dripping. And I actually do it on purpose. You do not want this to hang over that like I was just getting ready to do. So I move that out of the way. And you do want to test your fire wands to make sure that they catch a flame. And I swirl it around a little and I get it going. I'm also testing the material, like to make sure that this is not hot. Because remember, I do have to touch this.
Yes.
I like this because the screwdriver has rubber grip.
But do you have to then worry about the rubber like melting or something?
No.
Okay.
It's never really going to even get to that, but I won't be holding it like
that.
Ever. I let this burn out the first time around. So I'll let it keep on going until it gets out of there. And you'll be able to see all of that. See,
your arm ain't gonna have no hair.
I'm trying to get rid of it. And so, like, this is going to die down. And that also allows me to know how long I have when doing the scene before it actually burns out. So when you start seeing it flicker like this, it's not enough alcohol in it. And usually I'll put it out before that because I don't want to burn the material.
Yes.
And so this is actually really well done. This is actually right.
Kudos to you.
And it's ready to go to use. And what you do is, because if I do a couple of bodies or something like that, yes, the alcohol kills the bacteria and stuff in it, but I still want to get the alcohol out. So I'll just run them under some warm water. And depending on how many bodies I did, I may put a little bit of antibacterial soap on it, and just keep squeezing it out until I got it and gets it back in, and it's ready to use the next time. You may have to soak it in alcohol a little bit longer if it's still wet on the inside.
To get the water out.
To get all of the water out. Because the alcohol actually has water in it. That's what a lot of people don't know. The alcohol still has water in it, and that's the reason why I'm able to do this and give me timing to put it out.
Got you.
So if you was to see my arm, all of this hair is gone. You can smell it. Smell like a beauty salon now. And so you just wipe this off and keep on going on with your life.
Dope. So, get creative, guys. Get innovative. Like, a lot of people don't know what they can do until they do it, So,
shittier. And then,
but
they work.
This week's Let Me Put Y'all On It is DIY and your tools. So, in honor of this week's episode, the playlist. If you don't know what the playlist is songs to play to. The song that I am adding to the playlist this week is The Fire We Make by Alicia Keys and Maxwell. And it's a great song. I was like, this is a perfect one. And so before we get out, two more things. One, I want you to leave everybody with an affirmation.
You have to gradually do things to graduate in it.
I always talk about the importance of education and learning your craft. Learn your craft. Practice your craft. You're not going to be a professional when you first do it. And that's with nothing. Get good at it. Take the time to get good at it. Learn the intricacies. And
never settle.
Yeah.
Never settle.
Continue to learn. Even when you are the professional, continue to learn. And before we actually head out, can you give people where they can follow you, how they can support you, if they want to hire you for sessions or for shows or for parties, all that information, if you could drop all that information.
So I put together a links page, and it's LINKS.C0 or CO / Pro PRO Hoe HOE FOE show SHO. And on there you can actually get to my art page also, which is Bobby Black, and it's spelled BLVXQ. Because I am an artist more so than anything. On that page, it will give you the listing. It has all of my pay links. It has my operations of how I do things. If you want to get the fire class, I do teach privately, but I also teach in group settings. All of the pricing is there. How to contact me is there. All of my social links are always updated. I'm on Twitter. That's mainly just me posting me. Ain't much on there. My Instagram is DAH Pro PRO Hoe HOE show SHO. I don't have a lot of followers on there, so I know people are going to look at it because I think I'm shadow banned because of my telephone number and my IP address. So I don't have a lot of followers on there, but it is open.
Check out the work, support the artists, support the creatives, learn your craft. If it's something that you are interested in doing, hire somebody to check you, to teach you. Check out the Black creatives, okay?
It's there. It's there for you.
So, with that being said, I'm going to say, first of all, thank you to you for coming. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for chatting with me. I'm really excited to do my scene. You guys can check out the scene. It is going to be on my Excite Bunny at What Would Maj Do on Excite Bunny. And that is going to be in the show notes and the links and the things of the sort. So, that's it. I'm going to peace it out. Give them one of these, and we out.